All right, we are back. Welcome to Three Swords Gaming. As we wrap up this portion of our personal story playthrough, this video should wrap up this patch. The second patch, the third portion of Janthir Wilds. Let's go ahead and dive right into the story here. So Maban is trying to show us something, right? And I think that's going to be important as we move forward, and as we advance through the story, I'll talk about why I think that's important, and towards the end, I'll talk about my theories or theory of what's going on here, because I do have a theory. Anise, Commander, last we spoke, you left me on quite the cliffhanger.
Didn't mean to
Yeah.
cause alarm. I had just caught sight of some glowing wisp. Upon closer inspection, it was...
Mabon, preserved in memory from his return in the wake of Bava Nisos' destruction. Of that much I am certain.
She says, I expect this area to draw out some ghosts of the past, but this...
Not just one, either. We were ambushed by a whole army. One even knows his Garin.
New. You're gone. A vile scourge even among the Mersat. She'll be dealt with.
Not much for peace of mind, but I'll take your word for it. As for Mabon...
We should retrace his path. The city's sealed, regardless. Why not look into it while we have the chance?
Then it's settled. Let's see what other secrets Mabon has left behind.
Okie dokie. Anise wants to talk to us some more, apparently. Alright. I guess that means I'll be reading more of her dialogue. Ready to go, Commander? On your way out, you'll pass Researcher Rin. She'll point you in the right direction. Okay.
And Commander, if you find anything noteworthy, check in over comms. Best to stay in contact in a place like this.
And that's that. Alright, Researcher Rin. So it's worth noting, remember, Countess Anise knew Mabon. They were part of a conglomerate, a social gathering, if you will, of, oh, there's some additional dialogue to be had up here, I guess, of mesmers. So this is not like an abstract thing for Anise. She did know him. And thus this is kind of relevant for her too. She has more to say. She says, the Alliance has been up in arms on how to handle the situation. A new layer of complication is not what we needed. Ludo and Lady Livia are especially riled. They're pushing for stronger action over research. What that stronger action would amount to, frankly, I'm not sure we're ready to see the consequences. And now, Mabon's here. If only in spirit. Still, I hope he can provide some guidance. We could certainly use it. I normally don't envy your work, Commander, but from where I'm standing, I wouldn't mind trading places for a time. Okay. So, as you recall, Livia and Ludo were among those who were advocating for a more destructive approach. They wanted to use Sceptervore to deal with the Titans. Poisdero, you seem to have something you want to say?
So, Mabon was a friend of yours.
Yes. He was a member of the Wizard's Court with me, and a very talented mesmer. One of the best I've encountered.
He seemed pretty upset at his people. And himself.
He was from an ancient race with a complex history. The Mersat. They were often at war, with a dragon, with the Seers. His Garin's people.
Ah.
Then, for a while, they were trying to keep a door closed. A door to another world, to keep the strangers out of Tyria. But they went about it in an extreme way. Killed a lot of innocent people. And in the end, the strangers won anyway. And they wiped out the Mersat entirely. except for Maban. He'd seen the error of their ways long before then.
I see why he was stressed. Seems like a pretty impressive guy, though.
He was.
Alright, and finally, Isgarn also has something he wants to say.
Yugon is an old rival from the height of the Seer-Mersad War. Thought herself my equal. I beg to differ. And yes, I killed her myself. It was thorough. That's as much as I'll speak on the matter. War in those days was not for the timid. Makes modern battle look like a child's game. Regardless, not my proudest moment. But I did what was called for. Especially after what she created. Everyone that she killed. The world is better off without her. I stand by that. If only the old crone had stayed dead.
Okay. And we get an achievement point for that. Totally worth it. By totally worth it, I mean on any other playthrough, probably not worth it. Okay. Here is Researcher Rin. What's up?
Wayfinder. You seem focused, so I won't keep you. Anise said you're off to explore another section of the Isle. Based on my research, some of the Mersad's more infamous figures made their mark in the Isle's southernmost region. Humbly, I'd suggest starting there. But beware. Memories of the past fade far sooner than the scars they leave behind.
Okay. Cryptic. But, alrighty. We will head to, I assume, to the south. I don't actually remember. Yep, sure looks that way. And we're going to try and make this. So there is a lot of interesting lore for what we're about to do. Oh, am I going to be able to resist, like, stopping and harvesting stuff as we go? And if I'm wrong about, like, Titan Heatstones and the Mersat Obsidian or whatever it is, you know, being desirable just because they look cool. If I'm wrong about that for most people, I'm not wrong about it for myself. Like, it definitely makes me want to gather it that much more. And thus, I have a hard time running past it without actually gathering it. But we'll try. Alright, at some point we gotta hang a left. Let's see if we can do that right here. Nope. We ended up in a box. We're gonna have to go back north and then turn right. I suppose we are. Is that Manikaz way up there? So Manikaz is significant. And he was also in the previous patch. He featured there as well. Is that him floating up there? I assume it is. Looking at the Warclaw butt. He's just floating around up there. Can we not pass through this? That's not actually a door. That's just some shiny obsidian. Making this way harder than it has to be. We might have to get higher to get over there. That's fine. That's what we'll do. I'll give ArenaNet credit for making sure that like each subsequent patch can be done without having anything from the previous patch. However, they also, like, make it notably easier if you do have things, like in this case, Sky Scale, for example.
Wisp spotted. It's hovering near a bloodstone.
You could try the Heart of the Obscure again.
That didn't work out so well last time.
Hear me out. Given their proximity to the city, these shards were likely drained long ago. Between the Titans and the Mersat exhausting them, it's unlikely they're volatile. Hopefully.
Hopefully indeed, since I'm the one who is going to be doing this. Okay.
A letter. Unexpected, but better than the alternative.
Alright, we'll read the letter.
You were right. The heart didn't cause an explosion.
Are we going to read this whole thing? Yeah, it's not that long. Okay, so this is from one Mersat, Mercia.
Sounds like the Mersat ramped up their sacrifices right before the door of Kamali opened.
Plenty of good that did them. Well, I'd keep watch for more wisps. Trust Mabon to guide you.
Yeah, so basically the commander just summed up what I'm about to read. Manikaz, Lazarus tells me you are now solely in charge of the Sanguine Crater site, which presumably is like a bloodstone site. I will not waste my time with congratulations. You and I both know you wish to be here at the Dora Kamali. Our forces in the Shiver Peaks have been routed by the Shining Blade, the Deldrimor, and their allies. Some of our own have even noticed that they resist our spectral magic, secrets that were supposed to have died with the Seers. So that's a reference to the first Guild Wars when the commander, so to speak, the player character in the first Guild Wars gains the ability to resist spectral agony by ascending. We are struggling to keep the soul batteries replenished. They are also able to see the Mersat, which previously, they weren't able to. We are struggling to keep the soul batteries replenished. I suspect forces beyond the door are working their end with increased intensity, which is why I'm writing you. Our sacrifices at Bloodstone Fen and here have not been enough. One of my little mice in the grass tells me you are researching a potential connection between bloodstones, an easier way to transport souls betwixt shards. Should this be true, then consider the next statement an official directive. You are to commence with further sacrifices, starting with the remaining humans and Coden. Once they are gone, begin to round up our dissidents, the insane, and the weak. They will have the privilege of serving the cause. If you do this, Lazarus and I will see that your discovery is lauded for centuries. Be prepared to transfer the souls to Kamali site. Do not fail us. Okay. And that's from Mercia, who is one of the, within the lore, one of the better known Mersat, right? Mercia the Smug, I believe she was. I don't recall any, so I'm not nearly as tuned into the Mersat story as some other folks, so I don't recall anything that is particularly insightful about Mercia and Lazarus communicating this to Manikaz. I think the important takeaway
Could be something.
at my level of understanding is that Manikaz was the primary force in directing a lot of the sacrifice. At the behest of others, perhaps, but he was the one actually executing the task.
No, I beg you, please. I can't take anymore.
I won't hurt you.
I won't fall for that. No, stop. Manicus, please.
Who would enjoy this? No wonder Mabon felt conflicted. You bear no resemblance to such monsters, Mabon.
Okay, so I actually think some of what happened here is significant. One, so this is, I think we are to take from this that this was a Mersat that was sacrificed. And he's begging for it not to happen, and it happens anyway, and that's very sad and everything. Also, we have a Mersat weeping as this happens, which really runs contrary to the way the Mersat are presented up until this point. So that was probably meant to be a bit jarring, and is a bit jarring compared to all of our interactions with Mersat up until this point. Then the commander, who would enjoy this? No wonder Mabon felt conflicted. Enjoy this meaning this sacrifice, not watching what she has seen. Finally, Commander says, you bear no resemblance to such monsters, Mabon. That is tremendously important to my theory of where this is going, or if not where it is going. because and this comes back to something I said in my previous video when I said that ArenaNet very much seems to feel the need to constantly have like happy endings, which is like a discredit to them. It makes the Guild Wars 2 story, in addition to the fact that it already oftentimes is like very comic booky, it also, gives almost like a Disney aspect to it, which is, in my opinion, very negative for the game. Not that the game is trash, but like, we're one Elsa and Anna away from just straight up being a Disney movie sometimes. And I think there is a path here at this point in time where this gets much darker, and I don't know if it will or not. In fact, if I had to put money on it, I'd say they don't do that, but they should. All right, next Bloodstone.
I'm afraid to see what evil lurks in these pages. Maban, what exactly are you trying to tell me?
In these pages, there's a book over here. Bloodstone book. It is over. Kamali's bleeding titans, and Lazarus has sent one final warning across the scrying eyes. So I think scrying eyes is like, this is record of Manakaz, by the way, so it's Manakaz saying this. One final warning across the scrying eyes. I think that must be some sort of message system between them, which would make sense in terms of the use of the word scrying, right? A human lich wields the scepter of war, so this is a reference again to Guild Wars, the first Guild Wars game, and has opened portals across Tyria. I must assume one of them has been opened nearby. Seraph is supposed to be visiting soon. How can I face him? I spilled the blood of my kin across the stone the other day on Mercia's order. So we see some remorse on the part of Manakaz, which I think is, and that will, as we go forward, Manakaz will greatly expound on that. And this remorse is tied to his unwillingness or his desire not to face Seraph, because apparently Seraph will not approve. He goes on, I remember a guildless. He could barely float. I perceive that to mean like a child. Barak caught him trying to teleport away. His blood stains my armor still. Why wasn't Orestes there to save him? So, Lazarus and Mercia, clearly, because Mercia's order to spill the blood of the kin. So Lazarus and Mercia are pushing very hard for this thing to be done at all costs. Manakaz is now experiencing remorse. Seraph apparently will not approve. Why wasn't Orestes there to save him? So Orestes very clearly would not approve. We are under the impression that Maban would not have approved. So increasingly we get the impression of like a massive rift, or at least difference in ideals across the Mersat. This is significant because it has not existed up until really this patch. Maban notwithstanding, we've not seen until this patch the idea that a large number of Mersat were actually opposed to what was taking place. And yet, of the Mersat mentioned in this patch, several of them, because remember, we got them, and actually it was the previous patch as well, where we heard about Orestes and another one. So we have Seraph, Orestes, the other one whose name I can't remember. It was like Dara or something like that. And presumably Maban opposed. Lazarus, Mercia, Barak in favor. Although Manakaz comes to regret it, whether it's because he ties what he was doing to his imminent demise or because he actually regrets it may be unclear, but just the same, clearly at the point of this little book we just read, he is regretting it. So that is like a 50% split. Now we have, what was her name, like Yagos or whatever? Let's see if we can find it here. I'm going to get attacked. Yagon, was obviously in favor of all this. So yeah, I'm by my math, that's more or less at 50% split. The idea that 50% of the Mersat were at least ideologically opposed, if not actively opposed to what was taking place, would drastically change our perspective on what the Mersat were doing.
It's all right. I'm here to help.
Too late. He's gone. I'm not too far behind.
You saw Manakaz die?
Dead. Hiding. Fled to the Golden Lake. The city is falling. He's afraid.
He'll get what's coming to him.
You... the pain is gone. I don't understand how, but thank you.
He can't hurt you anymore. How do you know he's at the Golden Lake?
He speaks to himself. At first I thought someone might be with him, out of sight. But I soon realized he was arguing with himself. Occasionally, at first, and then constantly.
Interesting. Well, you've earned some peace and quiet. Rest now. I found a lead. Some of the Bloodstone shards still had ghosts tethered to them, just like in Sanguine Crater. Victims of Manakaz. Apparently, he hid at the Golden Lake as the city fell. I'm on my way now. The Wisp seems to be following Manakaz's route. Maybe Maban was following his path of destruction.
Maybe.
That's as good a lead as we found so far. I'll bring backup. See you soon.
Alright, and we're ready to enter Golden Lake right here. Before we do that, a note on that ghost there. I'm going to have to fight this guy, aren't I? Man. So, we see another ghost. I think with both the ghosts that we interacted with while we were going, following Maban's Wisp, it's probably safe to assess that they are ghosts because they were sacrificed on the Bloodstone. As we recall, that has a tendency to turn people into ghosts, and we saw that in Janthir Century quite a bit, right? There was a whole mess of ghosts across Janthir Century. So I think that's reasonable to assess. Why would talking to the commander ease their suffering in some way is unclear. I have a sneaking suspicion that they want us to perceive that as due to the, was it the Eye of the Obscure or whatever it's called? This thing right here. The magic toy that we were given. Kind of wish that wasn't the case because, again, it
if you forget where
just
you are.
exacerbates that issue. All right, almost serene. If you forget where you are. So this would be the Golden Lake. Now, it is no longer golden, but keep in mind, we are in ruins that are hundreds of years old, and they're very clearly ruins. Like, look, there's like debris everywhere and stuff. So whatever defined this as the Golden Lake would not necessarily be a thing anymore, right? Now, before we can secure the area around the Bloodstone and further... Oh, yeah, these guys disappear. So annoying. There's a whole bunch of ghosts that we're going to have to clear, so... And they're surprisingly tough. And they do the disappearing thing, which also, like, doesn't really feel good. Not that they're badly designed enemies or anything. I'm not proposing that at all. It's just they're kind of a pain in the ass to do battle with. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 8 of them still here. So it looks like there were probably 10, give or take. when we got started. Alright, 4 left. This was notably faster on my Reaper, but... is what it is. Unfortunately, time-consuming.
Strength of the pack. More bloodstone. Looks substantial.
Where's the glowy thing? There it is. Alright, let's see what this last bloodstone's got for us. You can actually see the health bar on the bloodstone here going down as we use the whatever the thing was. I forgot what it's even called.
You think this is the end?
So look up here. Watch Manikaz's story unfold is what we're supposed to be doing.
I am the blood feeder. With this stone, I will outlast every one of you.
And we can't follow him. If you look on the map. Very odd design decision there.
Gods.
And presumably it was to set the table for this fight. But it's still a very odd design decision, in my opinion. Oh, is this the guy that keeps setting me on fire? It is. Alright, that's cool. So, we said great now help, which seems terribly out of place there because nothing was said before. There's actually a line from Anise before that But because Anise has no voice acting at present, we don't hear Anise's line. Anise says, "Commander, we came as quickly as we could." And the commander says, "Great, now help." Because, yeah, all these broodlings, like, you know, are run around all over the place and causing trouble here. In addition to, you know, the boss, or what will you?
Look, there it goes.
Alright, so there's Mabon's Wisp. It's also going to go where we can't go, but it should open up here in just a second. So it kind of does that to us twice. And now we can finally go up there. I guess it's to create a sense of mystery regarding this doorway here, the one that we are about to enter. But it's very off-putting for the player to want to follow something, to be motivated, Heart of the Obscure, not Eye of the Obscure, whatever. To want to follow a thing because the story is very clearly directing you to follow a thing, and not be able to do it because of the parameters they said. Super weird. Alright, use Heart of the Obscure, and of course the door opens because Heart of the Obscure does everything. And here we see Mabon's, like, ghost, spirit, essence thing. And then I believe we should perceive this as Manicaz. I don't see any reason to perceive it as anything else.
Torn to shreds, bleeding out, alone in the dirt. I hope you felt every bit of it. In the name of each life you massacred, I hope you writhe beneath this future you so desperately feared. Still too merciful an ending for you. At least whoever did you in made fine work of it. Who's there?
I know.
He was in pursuit of someone. And now, it appears, we are as well.
Any idea who? Was there ever something he said? Or did?
Niece, this is something best discussed away from here. We could all use a moment to get our bearings.
If it's all the same to you, Anise, I'm gonna stay out here a bit longer.
Of course, Commander, come see me when you're ready. In the meantime, some rest would do me well. Again, because, you know, and it even mentioned this a moment ago, when Waiting Sorrow said, "I know," that was a response to Anise saying, his voice, as if seeing Mabon in his ghostly form was unnerving for them because he's lost to them, right? That's, I think, what we're meant to perceive there. So, nothing else, as far as I know, to see in here, except, obviously, the tattered letter here. S, this is the last letter I wanted to write, and I'm certain it'll never find its way to you. I just wanted to surprise you, S. I wanted to live and grow old with you, but I don't think I'm ever getting out of this chamber. My tomb. The unseen ones. Okay, so this is very clearly not Mersat, because he refers to them as unseen ones. These foul, awful beings that we worshipped, so White Mantle. Presumably White Mantle human, writing this, to his or her love. They're going to sacrifice me next, after all we did for them. Just before we were brought here, I found you a ring, and I stashed it in my pocket. They never took it from me when we arrived, which surprised me. It belonged to one of the villagers, before the twins. You remember the twins from Janthir Century? Particularly, like, sociopathic Mersat, who were reveling in the destruction of the humans that they were sacrificing and so forth. Before they killed all of them. All the villagers. So this White Mantle took a ring from one of the villagers. And again, this is something that ArenaNet so rarely does because they don't like to do it. They might not have even intended to do it here, but this is very much like a guard taking something from someone who died at Auschwitz. That's very much what this is. And then they themselves meet a horrible fate. So maybe like a capo or something. I strongly doubt that's what ArenaNet intended to communicate, because they tend to very much try to stay away from that kind of thing. But it is interesting. I found it in a pile of trinkets that they kept. Is that awful of me after all we did to those people? Yeah, actually it is. Is my desperation so cruel? It's not like it matters anyway. The unseen ones brought me to this chamber and locked me inside. I'm alone in here, and I'm not getting out. Whenever I sleep, I hear whispers. When I wake up, I feel weaker. I don't know what kind of torture this is, but the subtlety is maddening. They left me paper to write and a little bit of food to eat. It's as if they don't want me to die. Not yet, but they do want me to suffer. Just before they put me in here, I managed to hide your ring under a bush while their backs were turned, just outside of a gate to the lakeside holding facility. Was it west of here? My memory worsens by the hour. The room feels smaller, and while writing this, there's just no way you'll find my letter. In fact, I hope you don't. I can only hope now that your death is kinder than mine. I hope you never see this place. Knowing what I know now, instead of burying the ring, I should have placed it near the wall where we last kissed. We crossed that very spot while they escorted me to my fate. Do you remember that day, S? When they brought us all to the lake and let us swim and bathe? It was as if they wanted us to feel joy, albeit briefly, so that our suffering would feel all the worse. Gods have mercy, forgive us. Again, very, almost feels like a reference to the Holocaust. Even if I die here, I'll always wait for you. I just wish we had more time. I hope your death, I just don't want you to feel any pain. Okay, so this is something that we can follow up on. And we will. And I think I messed this up when I did it on my main account. I actually, as much as I hate redoing instances, we'll probably go back and redo this on my main account so I can get it right. I did find the ring on my main account. So, spoiler alert, we're about to find the ring. Let's pull everything together in our inventory. There we go. So as you advance in the map, it'll show you a green circle, which means, you know, story thing here. And we will, even from a distance, there's the peculiar bush. We dig, step away with ring in hand, and what does it say? It says, as you dig underneath the bush, you find a small golden ring wrapped in old cloth. You take it in your hand and swear you feel loving warmth. Now, do I actually have a ring? See, I don't see, like, I don't get anything in my inventory. And I didn't on my main account either. We could try to find a wall that is like a reference to where he should have put the ring, where they kissed. He passed it on his way too, so I assume it would be somewhere on our way back to where we were. Yeah, so here's another circle. See, but it doesn't show anything in our inventory, and that's very weird. So that's where I gave up on my main account. Instead of coming over here, I just left the instance. Because there was nothing in my inventory, and I just shrugged. I thought it was bugged. Place ring. So we get an achievement. As you place a ring in the crevice in the wall, you hear the mood of the area lighten. Suddenly you swear you hear footsteps, and we see ghosts behind us. Golden Lake Spirit, Golden Lake Spirit. They come together and vanish. And it's not unsatisfying. At all. That's a cool. I think it's a fantastic little touch. I would have loved to have like something to show for it. And not because I want loot, because the game gives us so much loot. We don't need that. Honestly, we don't need some kind of exotic or ascended ring or something just for doing that. That's silly. But if you want to make like a heartfelt thing there, why not give me something to remember that heartfelt thing? You know what I mean? So it's interesting that they didn't do anything with that, beyond that. At least as far as I can tell. As far as I know. Countess Anise.
Countess?
She says, you know, when I first met him, I wasn't sure I trusted him. His motive seemed hazy. But Livia trusted him, which meant something, and she was right. My fears seem silly now.
You were being cautious. Even Mabon had reservations about his own kind.
He's made that clear. You could hear it in his voice. What are we missing, Mabon? We don't have time for games. The Alliance is growing impatient, and not just Livia and Luda.
Well, the only place I haven't been yet is the Central region. Not exactly a lead, but...
It's all that's left, Countess Anise says. Man, they did a really good job of that cosplay there. Alright, and she has more to say, so why not? Why not just add it to her dialogue? Why have her end her dialogue and then have additional dialogue? It makes no sense, ArenaNet. Commander, I'm sorry to be so maudlin. I'm sure the feeling of helplessness will pass eventually. We say, I get it. I didn't know him long, but I could see Mabon was special. She says, you must have quite the extraordinary picture, Mabon, from your few encounters with him. He wasn't always plagued by this much excitement. He could be boring, too. Those might be the moments I miss the most. Politics is a strange world. Makes you question motives. Which do people care about more? Or which do people care more about, me or what I can do for them? Once I came to truly know Mabon, that was never a question. He was genuine. In that regard, you two are very alike. I believe you would have grown to be dear friends had time allowed for it. That's nice. So those kind of things lead me to believe they are not going to do what I wish they would do.
Knew you'd come through.
There's Mabon's wisp.
Very funny. But like Anise said, there's no time for games. I wonder if my war claw could pick up on any leads. Worth a shot.
So this part, I think, was supposed to be, like, fun. I don't particularly find it fun. But
Sense something?
But that's fine. Like, I appreciate what they were trying to do. It's not, by any stretch of the imagination, the worst, they've ever done. It's something. And this is the same as, remember when we very first enter Janthir and get to start knowing, like, the Warclaw in the sense that it was portrayed in this expansion, we had a similar thing where we followed a trail to discover, like, we were looking for, like, a lost... some sort of lost Warclaw cub or something. I missed it.
Picking up on something?
Alright, so we got a direction to go again.
Good job, you. It wants us to follow it into Bava Nisos. And we're back to square one. Anise, I located another wisp, but it's leading me into the city.
Of course it is. Hold tight. I'll send backup to help examine the area. Surely we've overlooked something. And that should lead us to our last story instance, if I am not mistaken. So if it wasn't clear already, we're not in Bava Nisos. So earlier when I said the reveal better be good, we're not in it. Presumably it's this right here. This is like the outskirts, the ruins of the outskirts. Now this is a named area as well. So I don't know if like Bava Nisos is going to be here or going to be over here. But I assume because of that coloration that this is going to be Bava Nisos. And it's not crazy for this to be a named area and not be accessible. Because after all, like, that's been named for a long time. That's been named for a long time. That's been named for a long time. We were there, but none of this. You look at all this over here that, like, is exposed and is nothing. Man, like, that opens. And I remember Dislana, but I don't remember the map being exposed like this far over to the side. There's a whole island there. Where are the battle isles? Are those? I don't remember where those are located. Surely it's not that, right? I don't know. Yeah, look how far it comes over from Cantha. Is that the battle isles? Weren't they near Cantha in some way, shape, or form? I thought they were. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay. We're in a story instance. Mabon, what do you got for us, buddy?
Now what? Guess I could just forge ahead.
So this is going to happen in a few spots where we're going to have to deal with, like, you know, just in general, they kind of made this area. They wanted it to be a little bit inhospitable, so we got some mistburned here. We got the spiders, and then we're going to kind of try and delve into the secrets of this library. Throughout, there's an overbearing Mersat ghost. That's a weird thing to insert, and I feel like there's something that we should get from that, but I haven't, to date, figured out what that is yet.
I have just learned that Yagan is dead. Felled by the seer exile.
Isgarin? Her mind had abandoned logic if she willingly pursued the masked scourge.
I would expect more remorse in your tone, Overseer.
Her spectral agony killed his people's premier. Yagan was never going to win that battle.
Alright, so that's Isgarin is who they're talking about there. We can't do anything with that ghost. I don't believe we can do anything with the overbearing ghost either. There are a number of things we can do in here. I don't necessarily want to do all of them. But we do want to gather information. Let's see what this dusty tome is.
They sure feared Isgarin.
The hunt begins for Isgarin, the masked scourge. Not masked, mask scourge. So, I think he is a scourge to those in the mask, being the Mersat. I think. Very few of our enemies remain, but he should not be underestimated. Isgarin gained passage into Bava Nisos undetected and killed Yagan in broad daylight. That's very impressive, Isgarin. She was among her peers and family, and the assassination was executed at the height of preparations for the ceremony of Rabbit's Moon. Thus, Isgarin is considered detrimental to Mersat vitality. So he's, like, bad for the people. As is tradition, the final life breath of the enemy should be gifted to the mate of the victim. If you are able to locate Isgarin, please bring him to me alive. If bringing him back to Bava Nisos becomes problematic, killing the enemy may be your only option. Even though the Masked Scourge was exiled by his people, he continues to seek revenge for the death of their leader, Sidney. Sidoni? Sodonwai? If he has the coin... The coin? I know that's not coin. Ridiculous. Ridiculous use of the English language. If he sees you coming, he will win. Archsteward Sesla. Okay, and that was one of the pieces of information we're looking for. There's a number of things hidden in this library.
What now?
You can open this door, which is, like, I mean, it's a thing you can do. It's not really... I did not find it to be particularly meaningful. I went through the trouble of doing it on my main account. There's an enemy in there. But when all was said and done, I left myself feeling like, so what? The bulk of the text on the stone tablet is written in a form of Mersat language too archaic for you to read, except for 4 stanzas written in the common tongue. When birdsong shrills in crisp clean air and new life springs from soil of fair, we call to thee. Then comes the warmth of sun's embrace to glint upon thy upturned face, we summon thee. To catch the leaves before their fall, one must hearken to arbor's call, we offer to thee. At last we feel the cold winds bite, and end the seal on mother spite, we welcome thee, Barboza. Alright, see these talismans, not Taliban. I mean, they might be Taliban. I'm not in a position to say. If you trigger them in the right sequence, then that door opens. And the sequence is made clear by the poem, which basically goes spring, summer, fall, winter. So, midsummer talisman, life spring. So if you go spring, summer, fall, winter, ending with Mistral there, then you can open the door. If you grab this rotten meat and take it down to, there's a nest over yonder.
Let's put that nose of yours to work.
Then you can like draw out like a random Morello or whatever they are. And all this is for a variety of achievements that you can get in the instance. We're not going to do that. I want to get the lore related stuff if at all possible, but there's nothing lore related about the Morellos, so I don't particularly feel like that's a big deal. Presumably the spiderness. There is excuse me, a body here. Clearly they used their level 80 boost and then bought Zerker armor on the trading post with their first few gold. Probably a thief, given the fact that they have white hair, pigtails, and are running dagger pistol. So we have a newly boosted thief who attempted to play this expansion and failed. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is supposed to be one of those bandits that came to the island and regretted it. Scully got word about these ruins. Yeah, crazy critters. Scared off his eye. Me and Murph, we tried to get out. Murph looking for clues. Bad time. I hear something rustling above, and, you know, bad times have bowel. Great, man. Like, that's cool. Does this guy have any dialogue? Does not. We may just use the War Claws scent thing here in a minute. If it doesn't look like we find anything more. So I definitely, like, on a first playthrough, you should try to soak up as much as you can in this library. Like, absolutely. It's just quite time consuming. And all these things, which I have, like the you know, show, there's an option, right? You go into options, show all usable object names, and of course that makes it much easier to find things like the torture collar here. You can interact with it. See, there's an achievement for like interacting with all the interactable things. Overbearing Mersat Ghost said, "Don't touch that." I didn't notice that the first time, that the ghost does not approve of us touching that. That's interesting, actually. Oh, good, more spiders. Alright, propaganda pamphlet. Bava Nisos stands as the grandest city in all of Tyria. And it is thanks to our benevolent and uncompromising vision of a grand future with the Mersat as the rightful shepherds of this land and its denizens. Though the other intelligent races of our world have contributed to the development of this world in their own small ways, it is only the gracious charity and industriousness of the Mersat that has ensured such a place could be built. It shines out as an example to all beings with eyes to see that the faith and steadfastness in the glory of the Mersat as the driving force in Tyria. All things may fall within our grasp. Sounds like it was written by Pete Hegseth, actually. That's great. You know, propaganda does propaganda things.
Hurts, doesn't it? Get sick? They'll have to hit much harder.
There may actually be an achievement associated with killing everything in here, too. Actually. Oh, good. More spiders. And a corpse. That's cool. But nothing lore-worthy there.
Time to do some real damage.
Note that this corpse being desiccated, and it really is that a completely new... Like, I've never seen that model or that asset used in the game before. Alright, let's...
Nothing? Might be too much magic
Let's keep moving.
interference. Guess we'll do this the old-fashioned way.
We looked at that, right? Lore conversation. Lore conversation. Didn't we look at all these things? I thought we did. We looked at Strange Tablet. Oh, did we not do the historical record?
Interesting.
We did not do historical record. The ceremony passing will be held in 3 moons.
The leader and turn the war. No wonder Iskarin hunted her down.
Yes, ceremony passing will be held in 3 moons to honor the death of Yagan. Yagan was the best of our minds. Her work birthing spectral agony into Tyria, the final plague of the seers, won our millennia-old war when she used it to ambush and kill the so-called immortal leader. With the death of our enemy, Sidony, and the last of the major seer ranks, Yagan granted us a sterling victory. Yagan was killed 2 dawns past. 2 days ago? Her ceremony will be hosted by the Archsteward Kelsa, Kelsa, at the edge of the Golden Lake. The ceremony will begin at dusk and will endure until the smoke of her offering turns the table red. All will be forbidden to speak for the duration of the following sunrise. Wow, a whole day of not talking. It looks like... We'll check the stolen journal over here. And then it looks like to actually complete that.
Retrieving the mist's good. We cannot open it. The door of Kamali is about to burst at the seams. But there's no escaping it now. I hope they're watching. Wherever they are. Home. You sent us to die.
I feel like there's actually a lot there, right? So this ghost seems to make a distinction. All the effort spent retrieving the mist gate, and we cannot open it. The door of Kamali is about to burst at the seams. This ghost clearly makes a distinction between the mist gate, which is behind the sealed door in Bava Nisos, and the door of Kamali, which may also be behind the sealed door in Bava Nisos. Remember, Ura said the door that we came through is open. That's why we're here. She said door, and, you know, we say door Kamali, though there's no reason for her to say door. She could easily mean the Mistgate, but I think probably ArenaNet would use the same words to communicate the same thing, you know, in the interest of the players, right? So we have a Mistgate and a door. They are 2 different things, both within Bava Nisos. I wonder if the Mistgate is actually of more concern to us than the door. We can close the
Spectral
door.
agony. Yagan deserved to die for bringing such vile magic here.
Calm down, Commander. You know, let's say we close the door and the Titans can't come in anymore, but what is this Mistgate? Like, what could it possibly mean? I think there's a lot to think about there, and I'm wondering if that's where the next mini expansion might take us. That's one of a number of possibilities. It's also possible that this story arc just straight continues into the next mini expansion. Again, with the Bava or Janthir Gravis over here, like being its own thing. It's possible. I don't remember how long that title has been there on the map. Okay, so this just goes into Spectral Agony. Oh, it's written by Asgarin. Okay, well then let's read it. Of the many weapons within our enemy's arsenal, Spectral Agony continues to prove itself the most dangerous and terrible of them all. Not only does it inflict the most excruciating pain imaginable without causing a single wound, but it also saps the victim's will to fight against it, crushing down upon them until they can no longer think of anything but the pain. That the Mersat would even devise such a spell speaks volumes about their capacity for cruelty and savagery, and it gives our people every reason to oppose them at every turn. There can be no reasoning with such beings, no peace that can be brokered when such methods are employed. This council would do well to heed my call on this matter, even in my exile, lest we find ourselves groveling before these foul beings and their ultimate weapon of control. We must act and act now. Okay. There can be no compromise on this, Isgarn. So Isgarn is speaking to a council of seers. We must act and act now. There can be no reasoning with such beings, no peace that can be brokered when such... So, which begs the question, Isgarn at some point took a very hard line on this, and I can't help but wonder if there was a potential pathway for peace between the Seers and the Mersat, and that, but Isgarin, stood against that and maybe even persuaded people, not to go down that road or something. I'm not saying that that's what that document specifically says. It's one possible implication. It's not necessarily what that document actually says. Okay. Let's kill the reindeer, which is a real pain in the ass. The reindeer are kind of the worst, in my opinion, of the enemies in here. But, except for the boss, and I don't want them around when the boss shows up. So, let's, unfortunately, kill all the reindeer in here. And there are more than a couple. I did this on my main account too, so the truth is I don't know if they are a problem when you get to the boss fight. But I don't want... And the boss is manageable. I simply don't want to deal with like 6 reindeer during the boss fight. Especially since they have an attack, which thus far we haven't actually seen, where they like charge, and if I remember correct, they actually have like a... like they throw you? If I remember correctly. So far we've avoided that attack. Is that the other 2 right there? Yep, there it is. Alright, looks like they didn't throw me, but still. Alright.
Seriously?
Oh, is the boss not in that room?
There you are. Wait! It was headed for that gate. And I see people over there. Maybe they saw something I missed. Did either of you see a wisp floating nearby?
A brief flicker caught my eye's corner, but it vanished before I got a closer look.
I'm afraid I was too focused on my work to notice it. This gate's taken up my full attention since we arrived.
Any progress on entry?
Not yet. All I can tell so far is that the gate doesn't seem to be Mersat magic. The force sealing it is on a power scale all its own. So is the distance the enchantment covers.
I'll be surveying nearby. Keep me updated.
Keep kindled your life fire, Wayfinder. The dark is death's watchman.
Yeah, I'll get there in a minute, Isgarn. We got a tattered journal here. Tatiana isn't mad. We all heard it this time. This is the bandits that came. Perhaps it is the unseen ones that guide us, but we will venture inside tomorrow. We will complete Codicus' mission. Oh, so they were working for Codicus. And the world will see. They will all see. A dark brown stain is splashed across the bottom of the page. The rest of the script is illegible. Is it blood? Is it fecal matter? We'll never know. It's a great mystery. Isgarn, what's up, buddy?
Wayfinder, Anise said you found another wisp. She's busy fielding pressure from the Alliance about entering Bava Nisos.
And that is, of course, the gate that we just saw right there.
We're trying everything we can.
We're at an impasse on all accounts. The wisp led right to the gate. Seems Baban also wants us inside the city.
Of course he does. It's the epicenter of the Mersat's demise.
You say that as if the Mersat hadn't already anointed these grounds with their blood.
She's back. Like a common household pest. I'm putting an end to this now.
Ooh.
And you wonder why we never got along. Hubris always was the downfall of your kind.
So this is Yugon in ghost form. But we have, let's see, is that the, oh no, that's just random Mersat Ghost. I thought maybe the overbearing Mersat Ghost, like, played some kind of factor here or something, but no. So, I guess, you know, Yugon is back. Now, if I recall correctly, there's actually a, we also do battle with Yugon in an open world event in this map. I don't know necessarily that the two things are meant to be related in the way that, like, our battle with Mordramoth takes place at the same time as Dragon Stand, or you know, our battle with Suwon takes place at the same time as Dragon's End. Like, I don't know that we're meant to get that. Okay, interesting thing there. Let's go back and review while I was running my mouth, and also because I doubt it can be heard over the sound of combat. Let's review what Yugon said. This is who you bring into battle, Isgarn: a child, an old medicine woman, and a champion past their prime. So let's see. The child is Pokey. I am the champion past their prime. And the medicine woman is what's her face? The other bear. She says, would have been better off bringing that traitor friend of yours. Oh right, I saw what happened to him.
Fearing what it might reveal you for. A disgusting, worthless little vermin. Yet you deem Mabon the coward.
Alright, we'll get to that dialogue in a minute, but I wanna address that. How in the world would Yugon have seen what happened to Mabon? Like, that's very weird. That had nothing to do with Bava Nisos. That had nothing to do with the Mersat. That was 100% the Cryptus. So how would that have happened? That is very curious to me. Alright, she goes on to say, expect me to fall to my knees, begging for death. A coward's end may suit you. It's hard to read and play at the same time. Coward's end may suit Mabon, but it doesn't befit me. As Garin says, you cower in shadow like a cockroach fearing light, fearing what it might reveal you for. Okay, I need a disgusting, worthless little vermin. Yet you deem Mabon the coward. Okay, we are all...
I see it, and I'm not impressed.
Time to do some real damage.
If only you brought an old medicine woman to mend your wounds.
She'll have to hit much harder.
Alright, no more reading while I play.
We heal as one.
I think I made that one happen by running into that circle. Did that to myself.
This is exactly how the world will remember you, Yugon. I'll make sure of it. The heart of the obscure. Finish her now.
So there we go again, with the heart of the obscure being everything. All the things.
Arrogant enough to think she mattered, and stupid enough to act as such.
You have a way with insults I've always admired. Mabon, guide us.
You've nowhere left to flee now. Who are... Titan. Well, what are you waiting for? Going to kill me like you did the rest? I'm not sure I blame you. I might have done the same. Spare us all a lot of misery. Stop! Face me! There's nothing left inside. We're what's left.
He followed the Titan into Bava Nisos after the city fell.
He never told me.
So we can't get into the city. Mabon chased a Titan into the city, and there's a mist gate.
Is that gate how the other strangers got here? The three we fought?
It seems that way.
So, does that mean it's open?
Yes. And even my power can't disable the ward that blocks our path. Summon the Alliance.
Okay. So that's a couple thoughts.
Shiny.
That is the end, by the way, of this particular chapter. So we're video just about wrapped up. We'll chat with I think Isgaron's going to get a little bubble. Yeah, and then they got the bubble. We'll chat with them here in just a second. In fact, let's do that first, and then I'll air out all my thoughts. I do want to address this though. So Waiting Sorrow just said that the Titans came in through the Mistgate. But that other document very much seemed to strongly imply that the Mistgate and the door were two different things. It used completely different terminology, two sentences side by side. Like, it makes no sense. So either ArenaNet just messed it up, they fumbled it, which isn't unbelievable, or we have like an unreliable narrator thing going on with that book, or Waiting Sorrow's wrong. Like, we have what definitely within this one instance appears to me to be a pretty significant conflict in terms of what's waiting past Big Gate. Besides probably a Titan, I guess, is what Mabon was following. So we'll have this dialogue, and then I'll unleash like my little theory that isn't going to happen, but I want to happen. Wayfinder, I'm sure you seek answers, but this day has been troubling. I will answer your most pressing question, but the rest must wait until I've taken some time. Calm down, Isgaron. How nervous should we be about this Mistgate?
How nervous should we be about this Mist's Gate?
If Ura did not deceive and it sits open, then we must abandon caution for action. The race has begun. But another anxiety overcomes that of the gate.
Mabon?
I've scrutinized every conversation, every memory since the day I pulled that knife away from his throat. He was sullen when he returned from Bava Nisos. And of course he was. He just observed the death of his people. But now I know that something remained untold. He hid something from me. Mabon, what happened? What did you do?
So presumably, one of the possibilities is that Mabon, that what he did or what he's hiding has something to do with the Titan that he followed inside. We saw in the like the ghostly image or whatever that Mabon wanted the Titan to confront him, and the Titan apparently went into Bava Nisos instead. Mabon followed him into Bava Nisos. What took place between the Titan and Mabon in Bava Nisos, we don't know. So that is, I would say, the most likely thing that is hidden. Wayfinder, there's so much for us to think about and discuss. Is there something in particular you wish to speak to us about? How are you two doing?
I don't even know what to say. This just got a lot more complicated. What about you, Cub? I know this involves a lot of people and things you don't have history with.
Well, it affects you, so it affects me. That's reason enough to care. But it'll affect everybody eventually if we don't do something about it. What that something might be, no idea.
That's not on you to figure out. You helping us is enough. I'm grateful you're here. Worried sick every moment that you're gonna get hurt, but comes with the job.
I'll do my best not to rile your nerves.
Okay, so let's address a couple things and then wrap it up until for 3 more months. I don't have to do this again for 3 months. So one, the gate. So it's exceptionally, whatever holds this gate together is exceptionally powerful. Isgarn cannot open it. Hopefully, the Heart of the Obscure cannot open it, because that would just be dumb. It's sealed by a magic that's more powerful, and a magic which, this researcher described as having breadth. In fact, will the researcher say the same thing again? I assume not. But we can try. Nope, she just gets scared when we approach. Okay. But described it as having breadth, right? So... And now we have determined that, we don't know what to do about it, so now it's going to go back to the Alliance, and the Alliance is going to figure it out. We know that Livia and Ludo, among others, are advocating for a very aggressive approach, probably using the Scepter of Ore. If the Scepter can open this door, and in the process the Scepter is destroyed, that's actually, from a storytelling perspective, a very convenient thing for ArenaNet. Because the Scepter is actually a huge problem in terms of lore. It is this super powerful thing that has prolonged Livia's life for hundreds of years, and it has like this basis in lore where it's just... It disrupts the power balance of the world of Tyria in terms of the storytelling that ArenaNet is trying to undertake. If they can get rid of the ore, or the Scepter of Ore, then it makes it easier for them to tell stories going forward, because it's no longer this weird thing that's more powerful than, all these other things. Like, it would serve them well to get rid of the Scepter. If the Scepter can be destroyed in the process of opening this door, that's actually a really effective storytelling option for them. Do I expect it? No, probably not. But it would be, I think it would be a good move on their part. If I were telling this story, so this is my prediction. That's not a very good prediction, because I find it highly unlikely from ArenaNet. It would be far more likely from someone like me telling the story. So if I were telling this story, one of the secrets that Mabon would be hiding is that the disgust we see from him is tied to shame, because he was once one of the greatest monsters of the Mersat. That he had, in fact, sacrificed hundreds or even thousands upon the Bloodstone himself. That he was among the leaders of this Mersat movement to try to seal the Door of Kamali with Bloodstone sacrifice. I don't know if that works in the timeline, because the war with the Seers took place before... I don't know if it's broken by the timeline either. The war with the Seers took place before the Door of Kamali, right? I think. And Mabon and Isgarn encountered each other towards the... after the war, or towards the end of the war. After Isgarn was already cast out by his own people. But presumably before the Titans completely destroyed... because they already knew each other when Mabon came back here and the Titans had destroyed Bava Nisos. I don't know if it would break the timeline or not. But I'd really like to see a scenario where at some point Mabon had actually been a monster. All we've heard about is what a great guy he was, how different he was from all the Mersat. And I would love for them to flip that on their head, and he basically turns out to be like the Nazi war criminal in Argentina when he's with the Astral Ward. Do I find that likely? No, I find it exceptionally unlikely. When it first popped into my head, when I was doing my first playthrough of this patch on my main account, it popped into my head and I'm like, oh man, like we are going to find out. Like we're going to get to about where we fought, what was her name? Like Yagan or whatever her name was. Let's see. Where's her dialogue? Yagan, yeah. So when we, like, the way we fight Yagan, I actually thought we were going to witness a crime from Mabon right here. As we were walking back down from this gate, and we were walking down here with his Garn and Pokey and Waiting Sorrow, and we were approaching this, I thought, oh man, we are going to see like some resonance of the past, and Mabon is going to like butcher a bunch of kids or something. And of course that did not happen, and then I came to the realization ArenaNet doesn't have the stomach for it, or maybe it's just the game's rating, or whatever the case may be, but that is just exceptionally unlikely. And I stand by my thought that that is exceptionally unlikely. It is what I would do with the story. It wouldn't address the question of like Mabon following the Titan in here, unless you tied it in with like Mabon follows the Titan in there, wanting to die at the Titan's hands, and somehow the Titan does not kill him. The Titan like chooses not to kill him. Maybe we even gain some further insight. The Titans are obviously more intelligent than than the game kind of leads us to believe. So it's very plausible that a Titan might choose not to kill. In my opinion, it's plausible might choose not to kill Mabon. But none of this is going to play out. Let's be real. ArenaNet storytelling. Livia comes. She uses the Scepter of Ore to open the great big door. She may actually have to die in the process. I think they're comfortable killing Livia. And Livia being alive, by the way, is also kind of a problem for the way they tell their story. Like it is another anomaly in the world of Kryta, although less so with the Wizard's Court and Astral Ward and stuff being as old as they are. But so Livia opens the door and maybe even goes a little bit renegade, but it all works out in the end. And the final boss is just going to be whatever Titan Mabon followed in there, and we'll learn that Mabon did something to like seal away the Titans, which we know Mabon did something to seal this area away, but we'll learn that he did something else with the Mistgate or whatever. The Mistgate and the door are going to turn out to be the same thing, and that one document in here, like I'm attributing way too much complexity that they're not really capable. They've never demonstrated the ability for complexity. So everything that I'm like trying to attribute to them is almost certainly going to be super straightforward. There's going to be a city inside of here. It's not going to impress people nearly as much as people are hoping it will. There's a big old Titan in the middle. It's probably going to be a world boss. Everyone will fight the Titan. We'll kill the Titan. Mabon will be justified. It'll turn out he's a really great dude, and we all learn that prejudice is bad because Mersat can be good too, and Livia will say something snarky, and the Queen and Anise still won't have voice acting, and that'll be the next patch. And that's too bad because they could do a lot more, and they're not going to in all likelihood. So on that negative note, we are done with this patch, and we are looking forward to the last patch of Janthir Wilds. And to be fair, for all the complaining I just did and all the dragging ArenaNet, I actually thought this patch was pretty good. I think that the playable area, which, let's leave this instance. Mistburn Barrens here, this playable area, I actually think is really cool. I do think it'll lose its appeal over time because I don't think there's enough, like, things to carry it as a map that people are going to want to consistently come back to. I don't think the events are nearly good enough for people to like want to farm this map. I think the only people going to be farming the map, I think what the map currencies are actually good for is for making things for the homestead. So I think the people most likely to farm this map are people who want very specific things for their homestead, which ultimately is not going to include me. So there you go.
What do you think this building was used for?
But I do think aesthetically it's an exceptional map. I think design-wise, the gridded structure of the map is actually good. It is very reminiscent of what's it called? Omnitas. Which should, to some degree, I guess, make sense. It's very possible that Mabon had a hand in crafting Omnitas, and so, like, this area being, like, super gridded, and this being, like, really gridded, this, all these bastions, except for the central spire there, I guess that resemblance isn't a crazy thing. But to me, it's a very strong resemblance. Not in terms of the aesthetics, where this looks much more like Kurzik, sort of. Like something we would have seen from End of Dragons. Whether or not they borrowed from that, I don't know, because the assets don't look completely reused to me.
The veil between the mists and these grounds is concerningly weak.
Think it's the Mist's Gate everyone's talking about.
No. This is different. This is where the sacrifices happened. Thousands cast upon the Bloodstone. So unnatural. So violent that it almost tore the veil wide open.
And it's another great thing about this map. This map has a lot of ambient dialogue that's very lore-heavy, relevant. This is a great patch for lore as well. So I think this patch brought a lot of good things. I think it was a pretty good patch. Is it going to be like the thing that, you know, pulls me heavily back into the game? No, but also, like, I have to acknowledge I started playing again to check this patch out and have been playing more again lately. So in a sense, yes, I suppose it did achieve that. But is it going to keep me around? No. Like, my days of, like, only playing Guild Wars 2 and playing it so extensively are far, far gone. But all said, pretty good patch. Good times. So, thank you for hanging out with me while we go through this story. Oh, and Rando Griffin or Skyskull. Thanks for hanging out with me and enjoying this patch with me. I will probably do videos on time for the next patch, which I realize I did not do for last patch. But that's because I didn't want to play. But presumably for the next patch in 3 months, I'll lean into it and get them knocked out pretty quick. So, I hope you have a wonderful evening. I plan to have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in a few months. Thank you.